Even after nearly 30 years of playing video games, I still strongly believe that the 90s were the holy grail of video game development. It was a time of experimentation where new genres made their way into existence and old niche ones were brought into the mainstream spotlight. One such genre was the RTS, with games like StarCraft, Warcraft and Command & Conquer, just to name a few of the more notable ones. But like many others, it is a genre that only has a handful of developers that have been keeping it alive in the market today. And one such developer is Arcen Games. And today we're taking a look at their early access RTS title, AI War 2. AI War 2 is a real-time strategy and grand strategy hybrid currently in development and self-published by indie developer Arcen Games. Arcen Games known for previous titles such as AI War, Bionic Dudes and Star Wars Rogue, just to name a few. AI War 2 released in early access October 15, 2018 after a successful Kickstarter campaign in late 2016 and is estimated to receive its 1.0 release in the second quarter of this year. AI War 2 offers an intense strategy experience that puts players against the most complex and intelligent AI you will ever find in a strategy game. You need to battle your opponent through small raids and shadowy tactics over outright aggression to progress. And when you combine that intelligent AI with such a guerrilla style of warfare, you get a strategy game that is like no other. In AI War 2 you take on the role of the remnants of humanity after the AI machines conquered the galaxy at the end of the First War. You are outnumbered, outgunned and vastly inferior in technology, but you must win. The last of the human race depends on it. Your ultimate goal, to seek and destroy the AI overlord. Upon starting the game for the first time you get to choose who your advisor is on the capital ship of the fleet. There are 8 to choose from, each with their own dialogue and voiceovers. The choice you make doesn't affect the gameplay, but it is a nice little touch to the game nevertheless. You can also choose what colour your fleet will be, allowing you to choose colours that make it easy to see your units if you wish to do so. When starting a campaign you get to choose one of the many preset quick start options, that each offers you a unique scenario ranging in difficulties from easy, or as easy as AI War gets, to hard. Some scenarios have it where it is just you versus the AI, while others involve various factions that can be either allied with you, the AI, or maybe indifferent and see all as a threat. You can also choose to create your own scenario where you get to choose the map type, layout and size along with how many armies are on the map and what kind of AI they use, allowing you to create any kind of scenario you could possibly imagine. Having such a system is a great addition that increases the replayability to AI War 2 to the maximum possible, making it as complex or as simple as you want. There is also a tutorial available for those who haven't played the previous game or are looking for a refresher. At this moment in time the tutorial isn't the best. It does a great job at introducing the basics of the game across a series of 30 odd steps, but it is very easy to skip past certain steps and it doesn't go into some of the more important mechanics of the game, such as hacking and AI progression. Two things I will get into more detail on shortly. The major problem with the tutorial is that it shows how to play aggressively. And when you haven't played the previous game like me, you tend to get the idea that the way to progress is through conquest. The reality of that is completely the opposite. I played aggressively and before long I was facing a wall of near constant enemy attacks I could barely hold back. I ended up feeling like I was Zap Brannigan from Futurama. It is counter-informative for people unfamiliar with the concept and workings of AI War, which can be really off-putting for new players as it leaves them wondering what they are doing wrong. But it is something that Arcen Games do intend on revamping and fixing before the game's full release. When starting a campaign you only have one planet under your control. From here you need to scout surrounding systems and begin expanding by conquering planets in order to gain more resources to build ships, gain hacking points for hacking and research points for researching new technologies. Each time you conquer a planet it will increase the AI's awareness of you. This is displayed on the top of the screen. The more aware the AI is of you, the more it sees you as a threat, resulting in it becoming more aggressive, sending in not just more fleets, but more powerful fleets too. As if larger, more powerful fleets aren't bad enough, they also begin to attack you in new and interesting ways. For example, sometimes they will open a wormhole to one of your more secure planets, bypassing your defences that would otherwise be blocking them from it. Then they can also prepare strike forces in advance, meaning as soon as they see weakness in your army or defences, they will send in the strike forces to hit you at your most vulnerable. You can lower the AI's awareness by destroying databases found at certain planets, but finding them and destroying them is a challenge all on its own. Having such a system works incredibly well, and ultimately is that makes AI War stand out from the crowd. It results in you having to be tactical in how you go about your campaign. You can't just go and take over all the planets you come across, as you'll find yourself in big trouble doing so. Instead of using aggression, you need to go to the planets and steal research points from the AI using a hacker. Doing so costs hacking points and will alert the AI resulting in it sending fleets to stop you, forcing you to hold your ground with your own units while the hacker does its job. And then you use those points to upgrade and increase the overall power of your own army. When you mix this shadowy warfare with the seeking out and destruction of databases to lower the AI's awareness of you, it gives a real sense of guerrilla warfare in space. It is utterly brilliant. Along with gaining metal, the game's currency, research and hacking points, some planets have schematics that are also possible to unlock by capturing them. Unlocking these schematics grants new technologies that you can then research and begin building, increasing your overall methods of war such as new turrets or ships. The schematics add to the overall tactics of the game, where you need to choose between conquest for resources and schematics over the AI's awareness of your presence. It gives a high risk, high reward feel to the overall gameplay, and it is all the better for it. That is pretty much the fundamentals of AI War 2. But this wouldn't be much of an autopsy without getting into the nitty gritty details too. We'll start with the buildings. Buildings are found in the build tab at the left side of the screen. This tab includes all forms of construction, from docks which are needed to build attack squads, to defense turrets, to colonizing a planet, to engineers to speed up the construction of building and units. All buildings require metal, which is obtained from metal harvesters that are found by planets. The more planets under your control, the more metal you will harvest per second. Constructing a building on its own is extremely slow, but with the help of engineers it can be done in mere seconds. Engineers can also repair your squad, so they have many purposes on and off the battlefield. If a building or turret is destroyed, a rebuilder is required. These act pretty much the same way as an engineer, but their sole purpose is to repair destroyed buildings and defences. As for turrets, they vary greatly depending on the type of turret it is, each one having its own purpose. From turrets that simply damage units to those that slow enemy units down to minefields that explode upon enemies entering their radius. There are plenty to choose from, and each that are very useful in their own way. Finally is the command station upgrades. These are required in order to colonize a planet, and one of three must be chosen. One being economy, one being military, and the other logistics, each one adding its own bonus. For example, the economy greatly increases the amount of metal you gain, along with increasing the total amount you can store, while the military increases the amount of energy you have. You can only have a total of 10 of each of these upgrades. The buildings and understanding the purpose of each and how to utilize each of them properly is quite a steep learning curve, and takes some time to get the hang of, but once you do, it works well and is easy to navigate. And as for the buildings and turrets themselves, they are all reasonably well balanced too. Then there are the units. You build units through the docks tab and come in two forms, docks and starships. Docks are the majority of your fleet's forces, consisting of smaller ships that alone don't have much effect, but as a large fleet are extremely destructive. From small fighters to corvettes to bombers, each has its own strengths, weaknesses and costs. As for the starships, these are battleships that have their own special roles within a fleet. What role they play is dependent on the type of starship it is. They are slow to construct and cost a lot of metal, along with it taking time before you learn how to utilize their abilities properly. But once you learn the ins and outs of them, they become a critical part of your success, and two are well balanced. Unlike in most RTS games where you have to manually train each unit at their specific building, AI War 2 works differently in that you can toggle unit construction on or off. This means that as your squads get destroyed in battle, back at the planet you have set to make units, new squads will immediately be made, assuming you have the metal to cover the costs. It results in lowering the overall managing of unit training, meaning you can focus on the battlefield while your docks automatically make new units. Then you can send those new units into the battlefield as reinforcements. It is a simple and basic little mechanic, but one that makes a whole world of difference to the gameplay, as you never need to drop your focus from the battlefield to manually train your next attack wave. It works brilliantly. Research is done through the tech tab. Here you will see all the units, turrets, buildings and constructions that you're able to increase the level of, up to a total of level 5. Each level costing more research points than the last. Increasing research makes that which you are researching more powerful. For example, fighter ships and starships have their speed, damage, hulls, shields and so on increased with each level, making them far more powerful and competent fighter units. Engineers move much faster, with having quicker construction and repair abilities the higher level they are. Leveling up metal harvesters increases the overall amount of metal you gain per second, and so on and so forth with each and every research. The research mechanic of AI War 2 is one of the main components that makes the game so special. The reason for this is that the gaining of research points adds a whole new level of strategy to the game, as you can only gain so many points per planet. This results in you having to balance out the number of planets you conquer, ultimately increasing the AI's awareness of you with hacking research points, which costs hacking points. With hacking points, as far as I'm aware right now, only being possible to gain by taking control of planets. It turns the game into this strategy of careful planning and patience, where you need to balance everything out between gaining power and making sure not to piss off the AI to a point they become an unstoppable menace. It results in you having to, as discreetly as possible, gain research points to make yourself more powerful so that you can then strike back at the AI and begin holding off their more powerful attacks. It's not a strategy game about who can upgrade and train units and buildings quicker. AI War 2 is about being the underdog and getting yourself from that position of disadvantage to a point where you can meet the enemy head on. And it is through the research that this is done, ultimately creating riveting and intelligent gameplay that no other strategy game can compare to. As for the cost of leveling up units and the likes towards their levels, it appears well balanced, with the first few levels costs being reasonably low, but the 4th and 5th levels requiring quite a lot of points to make up for their provided power. And the fact that there aren't enough points to gain within a map to max out every single research, it results in you having to tactically prioritise what research is more important to you and what research is best left alone. Yet again adding a new level of depth to the already tremendous amount that the research alone provides. If there was one issue I would have with the research and its points system, it would be that all planets, no matter their technological level, give the same amount of research points. I would have thought a level 4 planet, which is much harder to take control of, would be more rewarding as opposed to giving the same rewards as a level 1 and 2 planet. Other than that, however, it works very well. Finally is the Mercs tab. At certain planets throughout the map, assuming they're under your control, you will be able to use hacking points to contact mercenary groups, who will then join your fleet. Each recruitment costing additional hacking points, and each recruitment only being possible to use a specific number of times. Mercenaries are extremely useful, not only adding to your ship ranks, but can also provide powerful ships that are unique to them. Hire them at the right time and it can really turn the tables. They add another layer of depth to the strategy of the game, as you need to decide between hacking points to hire mercenaries or using them to obtain new schematics or research points. It really is great strategy design. All of the mechanics and features of the game come together seamlessly in complete harmony with one another. The units, the training of the units, the research, the mercenaries, the AI programming and tactics, and the obtaining of research and hacking points. It all works together brilliantly to create an exciting strategy experience that places the player as the underdog, having to build their way up to power to defeat their enemy. It is exhilarating, intense, and one of the most creative strategy experiences you will ever play. But all this sounds complicated, and you're probably wondering, how on earth do you keep track of everything? Well, that is done through the Objectives tab. The Objectives tab keeps track of absolutely everything that is of interest to the player. From the ultimate goal of taking out the AI overlord, to unlocking of schematics, to the location and destruction of databases to lower AI awareness, once you have discovered them of course. They are all categorized for easy reading and organization, so you always know what is what. The objectives keep you informed of everything, so you're never lost and left wondering what is where and what to do next, keeping the flow of the game going from start to finish. AI War 2 offers an amazing experience despite being in early access. It is overall extremely polished, with the only major problem right now being the uninformative tutorial. The gameplay is exhilarating between the extremely in-depth strategy and an AI opponent like nothing you've seen before. An AI opponent that isn't done with having new tricks up its sleeve, with Arcen still having more to add to it. It is a game that all strategy fans need to keep their eyes on. The atmosphere to AI War 2 is fantastic. From the very moment you start up the game and hear the main menu theme, to the combat soundtrack, to the sound of lasers and explosions during battles. Everything about AI War 2 speaks of an epic experience of war and desperation. The main menu theme, for example, encapsulates not just the space theme of the game, but a sense of struggle and desperation where the balance of life itself is dependent on the outcome of the conflict. It is a powerful track that symbolises sadness, but also that there is a glimmer of hope. And that is what AI War 2 is about. Being the underdog, with humanity having lost everything, but there is a glimmer of hope in what is left of humankind, being able to turn the tables. It is incredible. But what makes AI Wars 2 atmosphere stand out is the fact that unlike most games that are space themed, it is filled with sound and music throughout. Most space games take a more ambient approach to atmosphere, generally consisting of low subtle notes that give a sense of the vast unknown. But AI War 2 goes all out with actual music. From the peaceful and quiet moments where soft music plays to the fast-paced, bold and action-packed combat music. The music just oozes atmosphere that perfectly fits in with the mood, theme and the moment that it plays. All the tracks present that sense of the vast unknown of space, while also giving the sense of urgency and last hope, where you know that every battle, every attack and every decision counts. Pablo Vega has done an incredible job of filling the unknown of space, a place where sound doesn't exist, with nothing but sound of beauty, emotion and colour that is equal to that of space itself. And it is nothing but a spectacular experience thanks to that. AI War 2 is turning into an excellent strategy game. from the vast amount of strategic depth to the general design and atmosphere. AI War 2 is a game that excites and keeps you gripped from start to finish as you slowly see yourself building up from being an underdog to bringing the fight to the enemy once thought indestructible. There may be a steep learning curve, but once you get to grips with it, AI War 2 gives a sense of accomplishment that few games ever can, and that is what will lead it to be one of the best strategy games of 2019. If you love RTS and grand strategy games, AI War 2, whether you buy it now or wait for the 1.0 release, it is a game that any strategy fan needs to keep on their radar.